it's your girl Nay, and welcome to my channel where we're all about living your best life through plant-based eating and wellness. I share delicious recipes, practical lifestyle tips, and inspiring blogs to help you create a well-balanced life. Now, if that's something that interests you, you know what to do, but I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. So the recipe calls for pickled onions, and for those who don't know what pickled onions are, they're basically just sliced onions that are soaked in water in some type of acid like vinegar or lemon juice or lime juice. And the longer you have them soaking, the better they'll be and the more softer and more flavorful. But just in case you forgot like me, I'm going to show you how to make them really quick and have them soaking the whole time that we do everything else for the recipe. The thinner the slice, the easier it will be to soak over time versus them being really thick slices. So once you're done, we're gonna keep these aside in the fridge until we're ready to assemble our tacos. And personally, I cut more than I needed just because I wanted to have extra for whatever I needed in the future. Another key prep is going to be the base for our cream, which are going to be cashews, and you have to soak these for at least an hour just so they can get soft when you add them to the blender. If you're in a hurry, I would put them in very hot water and soak for at least a half hour. So our fish for this recipe is going to be hearts of palm, and for those who don't know, that's the inner core of a palm tree. And I know it sounds crazy, but just trust me, these actually have a really mild flavor and are the perfect go-to for fish substitutes, whether you're making fried fish. Sometimes I'll use them for ceviche. So they're really easy to manipulate in flavor, which is why they're perfect for this recipe. You can find them in the aisle where the artichokes are and other canned vegetables. So we're just gonna drain them from the can, and this is exactly what they look like. I'm using 2 cans because I'm cooking for about 2 to 3 people, but if you're just cooking for yourself, you can use 1 can. Then slice each of these in half and set aside because we're gonna be pressing them in a little bit. Then once they're sliced, we're gonna put this aside and then grab our paper towel. You can also grab a clean rag, and we are gonna firmly press these because they were in a can with water for a long period of time, which means they carry a lot of water, and we wanna get as much water as we can out of these. Now for the pressure you're applying, you wanna add a firm pressure and almost flatten them a little bit because this will help when we go to coat them and fry them. The flatter and drier they are, the crispier your fish will be. Just make sure to not do them too hard because you'll end up mushing them to the point where you can't pick them apart from the napkin itself. For the liquid today, we're going to be using a buttermilk base with hot sauce, and the hot sauce is optional, but it's not. I would definitely use the hot sauce in this, but let's say you don't really like spice, you can totally omit this, but it does add to the flavor of the fish. For our dry mixture, we're going to be using some fish fry. I use the New Orleans style because that's just the one that I like to get. Seaweed is a big part of this recipe because it's going to add that fishy, almost seafood taste to our fish, and I would not omit this because it does mess with the flavor and the ending product of the fish itself. Normally, I would use nori sheets, which are basically the same thing, except these are a little crispier. I just found these in Substitute because they weren't in the grocery store when I went. We're gonna make our wet mixture, which is a little bit of the milk, a little bit of our hot sauce, and our roasted seaweed shreds. You can totally put this in the blender or your food processor, but I just end up using my hands because these chips are so crunchy. But if you're using regular nori sheets, they won't be as crunchy, so I would definitely use a knife or some type of blender. We're just gonna add everything together, mix it all up to make sure it's well incorporated. So because I made this recipe about 100 times, I'm not really measuring, but everything will be down below in the description for exact measurements. Moving on to our dry mixture, I am mixing breadcrumbs, fish fry, and flour into a bowl, and then we're going to just make sure that it's well seasoned, and that is the most important part of this recipe because you want to make sure that your fish has flavor. For the exact measurements, check the description below because I'm not gonna lie, half the time I just let God guide my hands, but I'm going off a recipe that I already made in the past, so I'll definitely link that below for the exact measurements for the seasoning and the flour and all that. We're also going to be adding the dry seaweed sheets into our dry mixture because, again, we're just trying to make sure that it has that seafoody flavor. Now we're going to set up our dredging station. The fish will go into the wet mixture, then the dry mixture, and I'm going to be double coating everything. So it's going to go from wet to dry to wet to dry, and then set aside to do the rest. And we're going to be repeating this until all the fish is well coated. When coating, make sure to not leave the heart of palm into the milk mixture for too long because it will fall apart. They're already a little bit moist from being in the can for so long with liquid, so we're just making sure that it's a little wet just so it can coat with the dry mixture. And as well for the dry mixture, make sure you're thoroughly coating everything, making sure everything is covered because this is what's going to add that crunchy, crispy texture when you're frying your heart of palm. I use the fork to help me coat everything because eventually your fingers will get sticky if you're using them going back and forth from liquid to dry. So try to keep your hands a little clean because it will just make your life a little easier. So now it's time to fry, and you're gonna get a pan filled with hot oil and make sure it's about medium temperature because you want them to have a crispy coating, and just let them fry until they're nice golden and brown. And try not to move the fillets in the pan too much when they're frying. You definitely want to get a crispy coating on one side before you flip them, because if you just mess with them too much, they'll start to break apart and they just won't have that same texture versus you just leaving them alone and letting them cook. Also, I have the oven on, so when these are done frying, I put them directly back on the pan that they were on, and then I'm putting them in the oven to maintain not only their temperature, but to help keep them crispy. So while the fish is cooking, to multitask, we're going to be cutting up our vegetables that are going to be in the tacos. Get your radishes and make sure that you thoroughly clean them, because if they come in the back like this, they're going to be a little dirty. And then we're going to slice off the ends, and then we're going to thinly slice these radishes as thin as you can. Usually I would use some sort of mandolin or some sort of slicer, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you that you can completely do this with just a knife, just as long as you're very careful and you take your time. And again, they don't have to be super perfect. So next we're going to be cutting up our purple cabbage, and I already had a head of purple cabbage in my fridge that I wanted to use up, so that's what I'll be using. And then again, we're going to make sure that we're thinly slicing the cabbage, because the thinner these pieces are, the easier it will be to put in our tacos and to eat. However, to each its own. If you want thicker slices, then cut thicker slices. This is just what works best for me. Make sure to be keeping an eye on your fish and making sure that everything is cooking properly and that you're flipping your pieces when they are ready. So next we're going to work on our cream for the tacos. We're going to dump our cashews into our blender with about a quarter of the water. You don't want too much water because honestly it's just to help blend it and make sure that it's a nice smooth consistency. If it's not running smoothly, you can add water 1 tablespoon at a time. You want to make sure that you're not adding too much water because we're also going to be adding our other ingredients and you don't want it to be too runny. The avocado adds a nice creaminess while the lime just adds a refreshing citrus bite that the sauce needs, and I ended up using 2 because the one that I had was a little dry. And this is definitely the consistency that you want your cashew cream to be. You want it to be a little runny but not like water, have a little bit of hold to it. Somewhat of a thick texture because you don't want runny sauce for your tacos unless that's what you do like. I like a medium thick sauce paste, that way it's easier to spread and drop on top of the tacos. So you're gonna add in all your crema ingredients into the blender and blend until smooth. And like I said, let's say you're having trouble with the blender and it's just not blending enough, add a tablespoon of water at a time just so you can control the texture of your sauce. So this is exactly how you want your texture for your sauce to be. It's almost like a medium thick paste, but it's not too thick where it doesn't fall off the spoon. And now we're gonna chop up the cilantro to put on top of the tacos. And honestly, this is the fresh bite that you're gonna be putting in your tacos, so the more the better. Now we're just gonna heat up our tortillas. So you can use whatever tortilla you like. I am using a mixture of white corn flour tortillas, and they're the street taco ones, so they're a little smaller than the original. It is literally up to you. If you want it to be fancy, you could even make your own, but today I am being lazy and I'm not doing all that. So, and when they're done heating up, just set them aside so we can start assembling our tacos. It's best to have all your ingredients next to you, that way it's very easy to assemble your tacos because everything is just right there. Also optional, I use 2 tortillas per taco, but you don't have to. Me personally, like I said, it's just what I like to do, so I'm gonna do it. To build a taco, I like to use the sauce as the base, so I put a generous amount on the bottom. I'll put the fish fillet in the middle, and then I'll add the toppings on top, such as our purple cabbage, a little bit of the pickled onion from earlier, and as well as the cilantro on top. And that's basically it. I will also add the sliced radishes, but I kind of wait till I plate them so I can place them where I like. And then we're just simply repeating it until you make the desired amount that you want. And one thing that I love about tacos is that you can literally put anything that you want inside of these and make it your own. But this is just what I had in mind that I felt like would complement each other with the fish flavor. But again, there's so many options and so many things that you can do. So if you wanted to switch anything out or in, that is totally up to you, and I encourage to do what makes you happy. So this is the finished product, and I truly loved how these tacos came out. I felt like everything complemented each other very well, especially with the coolness from the avocado cream, and then like that citrusy bite from the pickled avocados and the fresh lime juice and the crunchiness from the radishes. Like everything was just working together, and I was really feeling it. So these tacos are definitely a summer recipe because they're very refreshing and they're super easy to make. They don't take long, so it's definitely good for those hot summer days where you don't really feel like being in the kitchen. So I started this channel to show people how easy and tasty being plant-based really could be, because there are a lot of rumors, there are a lot of stigmas around this culture, and that's just something I wanted to push to the side, because I don't know about you, but I be eating good and I want you to eat good too. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope you get to try this so you can tell me how you feel about it and maybe leave a comment down below. This is Bestie. Wait, you're probably gonna be cut off. I was gonna say. This is Bestie, and we're gonna try these tacos together. I wanna hear it. I want to eat some more. I want this some more. Help me. Help me. Thank you. Assistant on set, please.
Bruh.
Blooper cut. Cause like, whoa. God damn. Pee my laptop. That's all I care about. Not the food on the laptop. She not good. Ooh, she got limon in my shit. Whoa.
This one is the one that's on your laptop?
Yeah, I'm still gonna eat it though. Golly, you can't have nothing nice. Gotta It's still good. I'm scary now. I'm scared to eat these. All right, take 573 billion.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, thank you. Thank you,
I wasn't really a pickled onion gal, like heavy, till I met this one. And now there's no going back. The pickled onion really just, oh my God. All right, it's the sauce. I made it from cashews. I didn't do mayo. I'm funny. All right, so these is bussin'. If you want to be bussin' too, everything is in the description below.
No crumbs.
No crumbs. We're about to dog all these tacos, and it's not even Tuesday. Not 8. Good. Goodbye.
Bye.